everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on Volume 7 of Heaven Official's Blessing! We're on chapters 213 to 215. No man watched chapter this week, so there better be a picture. That's all I can say. This book, though, I can kind of tell there's like little... Well, but those are also the chapter titles. Like, there are spaces where it feels like there's gonna be pictures, but man, they don't give you a lot this volume at all, do they? Oh man, we've gotten like, what, 2 pictures so far? And I'm like, there's been so much happen. But oh well, I'll take it, right? I'm being super cautious because I got a notification today that there's things, I had ordered like one thing from a bookstore and the email was like telling me that there was a confirmation order, and I was like, no, I don't want to know if it's the book or not. I haven't seen the cover of volume 8 yet. I don't want to see it. I'm going to wait till it comes in and then react to it with you all. So that's something, but it should be in this month at some point, which is fun. Right now we're almost to the halfway point. We'll be pretty much at the halfway point after this set of chapters, which is exciting, right? And then hopefully we'll be able to start volume 8 around Christmas, around the end of December. So yay. But yeah, there's lots going on. The second season of Donghua is in full swing. It's been quite an experience watching, and now I'm like, now that I know everything about Yin Yu, I'm like, oh, just don't say anything. Which luckily where I'm at in the Donghua right now, Yin Yu is kind of like, they've shown up, they've appeared, and now they're kind of out in the background. So that's probably a good thing because I don't need to see that right now. Instead, it's Heshan, and I'm like, ha ha! Instead, so it's a fun time. But I do have some comments I want to talk about before diving into these 3 chapters. No manual this week. Next week is supposed to be a big chunk. So I don't know if I'm going to try to go ahead and read the next set of chapters or just wait. I'll probably end up waiting and we'll get a manual chapter and a big chunk. So it'll be like a giant set of stuff. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, but yeah, for this week, there's no manual chapter. So we just got these 3 chapters. But last week, I did not expect MXTX to have us have this giant revelation with Yin Yu and versus Jun Wu and the devil tempting and everything, and then it happened and I'm like, oh, and Yin Yu could be dead. What do we do with that? What do we do with that? So I'm still in denial. I'm like, there's no way Yin Yu can die. No, there's no way. I'm like, MXTX, are you going to be that cruel? Are you going to do that to us? I mean, they decapitated Shiwudu, so by all accounts, they can be that cruel. But I'm like, come on. You gave Yin Yu that beautiful moment, standing up and basically confessing to Chan Yishan that when you say hate him, you really love him. And it's like, now you're going to take it away from us? Come on now. What? We'll see. But let's get into these comments before we dive into the chapter set proper. User ML talked about how I really like they said this, that the common people were getting it. Like, we started out the story with Xie Lian saying, I want to save the common people. And ironically enough, the common people have gotten together and saved Xie Lian. The common people technically saved him back in the past, the man helping him and inspiring him back in book 4, but also the common people getting together and being needed to banish the resentful spirits with Hua Cheng. Like, it's such a cool turn of phrase that the common people are the ones that are saving Xie Lian and helping and assisting, and not necessarily even saving, but assisting them, right? And we're going to talk about that here in a second, because I like the idea that it's leading to this point of Xie Lian when he tells Yin Yu at the end of the last chapter, said he's like, there is no God in this world. Basically what Xie Lian's getting at is saying that we can't rely upon deities. We shouldn't be relying upon deities to solve our problems for us and to save us and be putting them on these pedestals. We should be doing it ourselves. And we should be trying to rely upon ourselves more than trying to pass off our problems to a higher power. And it's like, okay, that is a statement, and this story is seemingly to be proving that. So I love that. I love MXTX like slowly building up to this realization, right? It's great. Holy Milk 1867 notes the Heshan probably saw a lot of statues of Xie Lian during their visit to Mount Tonglu and their journey, but technically, you're only in the kiln for a couple of months before either one of 2 things happen. Before either you absorb all the ghosts and you break out as a supreme, which is what Heshan and Hua Cheng have done, or if you don't manage to make it out in a couple of months, you're on a time clock, and if you don't make it out, then the mountain absorbs you, and then you just kind of become this conglomerate that's going to be fuel for the next Ghost King to come. So the chances of Heshan seeing the giant Xie Lian for very long in the kiln, probably not that much. But he's probably seen all these other iterations of Xie Lian that he's like, really? This one? This guy? Who would do all of these? Also, it says a lot that Hua Cheng was in the kiln for only a few months and managed to carve a giant Xie Lian statue while he was battling whatever ghosts were there. Like, was he just like doing his nails and chiseling and just fighting spirits while he was chiseling at the same time? I love it. I love it. Anime Annie talks about, and also before we get to Anime Annie's comment, that does bring up the idea of, we've had these revelations about Jun Wu. There's all this mystery around the Guoshi, the mountain spirits, Wu Yang, Mount Tonglu. I'm like, I want to know so much about Mount Tonglu and the creation of it and the origin of Bai Wu Sheng and its relation to Jun Wu and all this. And it's that mystery keeps me going so hardcore. But I know that in MixTXS Solutions, we just gotta be patient. So yeah. Anime Annie says that Hua Cheng realizing that Xie Lian was naked earlier during the communication using the soul shifting spell is a nice callback to when Hua Cheng was posing as Long Ying and stumbled in to see Xie Lian in the Puchi shrine in the bath and was like, no! So that should have been like a nice little foreshadowing. It was going to come back later. Except now Hua Cheng is like, I don't want to see this. I can't see my Gege in this way. It'll be too much. I'll short circuit. I've got to banish these resentful spirits. I don't have time to be thinking about this. Like, I thought that was a really, really good callback. And then Kixk had a really, really cool wraparound and callback. That the bell, I don't remember if I talked about this in the chapter set or not, but the bell sounding when Xie Lian and Jun Wu arrive back is a really cool callback to when Xie Lian at the very beginning of the story first ascended and knocked the bell into Fengshen's palace and broke it. That now we see how much things have changed. That we went to being like, oh, Xie Lian's this little scrap collector deity who fell on these hard times, to understanding exactly how far he's gone to rock bottom and how he's like clawed his way back to where he is now, and seeing that over the past 800 years, and seeing that the most powerful and pristine people that we think of in the heavenly officials, that in reality over the course of the story we've realized, no, they're just people. They just are people that have ascended to get a lot of power, but that power is dependent upon how other people view them. And it's so interesting to see how they're all just mainly human. They're not infallible. And I love that idea of toying and tying to the line that Xie Lian says to Yin Yu at the end of this chapter set, that there are no true gods in this world. So yeah. And the idea, I love how Kixk said this, that love exists even if we don't think we deserve it. Because yeah, you have Hua Cheng and Xie Lian, two characters that don't believe they deserve it, and then they love each other, and it's like the best love story of all time. So yeah, I really appreciate all those comments. This volume 7 so far has been a whirlwind, and I don't know what to expect. I've asked people not to tell me what to expect in this volume because I want these last 2 to be like a surprise, and surprises they have been. I feel like the course of this volume, we have all these characters we need to tie back to and all these loose threads, and I feel like maybe this volume now is going to be addressing, like, Xie Lian's gonna bump around to each of the unfinished stories and possibly like help solve them like we have with Yin Yu. Hopefully they all won't die. Hopefully that won't happen, but I don't know. So volume 7, a mystery, and this cover, what is this? What is this? So yeah, I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited to see what's gonna go down. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right in and see what ends up happening in this volume set. But I hope y'all are excited. I definitely am. So we're going to start chapters 213 to 215 of Heaven Official's Blessing. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Chapter 213, Breaking the Standstill, a well-timed gift. Well, that would be awesome. Look, gifts? I'm up for gifts. It's not Christmas yet, but let's do it. Suddenly, wondering how the English translation did that, turned on in his head. Xie Lian put Yin Yu down, rising to his feet. The curse shackle. He took the curse shackle. If that thing was unimportant, then Jun Wu wouldn't have taken it. Yet he went out of his way to remove the curse shackle, sucked full of Yin Yu's blood, and took it with him. Perhaps. Not only did that thing suck away Yin Yu's blood, but also imprisoned his soul. Oh! Having thought of this, Xie Lian left the beaten and bruised Chan Yizhen behind and dashed out to the back of the palace of Qi Ying. However, Jun Wu was no longer there. He then turned around and charged out. Upon the great avenue of the heavenly capital, it was completely cold and deserted, and there was not a soul. Like, such a different vibe, right? There were only the expressionless guards watching over the palaces that used to be bustling and lively with all the great gods, and none of those guards cared for him. Because, yeah, Jun Wu doesn't think he's going anywhere. Xie Lian didn't care for them either and ran straight for the great martial hall. Sure enough, Jun Wu had returned there. He was seated upon the throne, still gazing at that cursed shackle. The moment Xie Lian charged in, he heard a weird gurgling noise, and when he looked up, the fetus spirit was hanging off of the glamorous ceiling with all 4 of its limbs. It was crawling upside down rapidly like some cold-blooded creature, incredibly creepy. What is this, train spotting? What is this, train spotting with the baby on the ceiling? Gross! Yes, even a wicked creature such as this could enter the great martial hall. It really made one wonder how the heavenly officials who struggled for centuries to step into this hall would think if they should see this. So is that just all a lie? Was it just all a lie? Oh, Xie Lian marched over with his arms wide open, and Jun Wu asked, "What do you want?" Without another word, Xie Lian thrust out his hand and snatched for that cursed shackle. But of course, Jun Wu would not let him have his way. This went on for a good while, and Xie Lian still couldn't manage to steal the thing. He cried angrily, "What use do you have for that thing? Yin Yu isn't even a threat to you, completely insignificant in your eyes. Why did you say all that to him? What's the use in you keeping that thing?" However, Jun Wu said, "Who says it's of no use? Seeing how angry you are over it, doesn't this prove it's very useful?" He was like an adult who placed a bowl of fruit on the table just out of reach of his child, and was smiling cheerfully on the other side, watching the child tipping his toes trying to grab for it, but not being able to no matter what, enjoying that he was both angry and desperate, wailing loudly. Xie Lian was going to go mad from fury. "Are you mental?" "Xie Lian, that tone you took is rather disrespectful," Jun Wu said. Xie Lian had been enduring this, but he couldn't hold back any longer and cussed, "Well, I'll show you some freaking respect!" All of his curses in this life were probably directed towards this man. Yet unexpectedly, before he could finish, his throat was suddenly constricted and he suffocated. Xie Lian's vision went black. His hands clutched at his throat and his knees buckled. It was the curse shackle, right? And he dropped to kneel. Jun Wu sat before him, petting that fetus spirit calmly and composedly, brushing through his hairs, caressing the smooth and round head, while black auras permeated from his palms. The fetus spirit seemed to be enjoying itself, cooing in weird cheer. Listening to Xie Lian burst into a series of violent coughs, his face swelling and flustered, Jun Wu said, "Shanla, I suggest you behave like before. A little more obedient, a little more respectful. Only then will I not be angered. Don't forget, you're wearing this thing on your person too, and you're wearing 2 of them." "You!" Xie Lian shot up to his feet, his eyes brimming with red as he glared at him. Jun Wu said, "I what? I'm sly? Shanla, don't forget that you were the one who asked for them." What a joke. How could he have known what this bloody thing was back then? Could it be? At that time when the Guoshi saw him, when his face dropped and came strangling at his neck, he wasn't trying to kill Xie Lian, but was trying to remove that thing. Oh my God, no! It was a good while before the cursed shackle on Xie Lian's neck gradually loosened, and he could finally breathe normally again. Oh my God, how'd I miss that? He was gasping harshly, subconsciously covering his own neck and feeling the cursed shackle. Another touched, and other than the cursed shackle, Xie Lian also felt something else. It was a thin silver chain. It used to be cold. But because he'd worn it for so long, his body had already warmed it through. Hanging on the silver chain was a crystal clear ring. Having felt it, Xie Lian's shoulders immediately stiffened and he gripped the ring tight. For some reason, his heart was pounding faster and faster, as if he'd learned an incredible secret. Right then, Jun Wu spoke from behind him. "It's me." "What is it?" "It's him what? What did he mean?" Xie Lian had stuffed the silver chain back into his robes and turned around with a frown. Only when he did so did he find out Jun Wu, what he said just now, wasn't directed at him. For a second, I thought that the ring has not been Hua Cheng's ashes, but Jun Wu's this entire time. But that didn't make sense, so there we go. Jun Wu had 2 fingers raised and pressed to his temple. This posture, he was communicating with someone. While he didn't allow for any other heavenly officials in the heavenly capital to communicate spiritually, he himself had none of those restrictions and could do so as he willed. After a pause, Jun Wu continued, "Oh, nothing much. Because of the case with the impersonated Earthmaster recently, many other spies and false personalities within the heavenly capital were also unearthed, one after the other. Seeing as how it's been a season of incidents recently, there must not be any careless mistakes. All heavenly officials are currently being investigated, which is why the entire heavenly capital has been locked down. It's currently not open to the outside, nor is spiritual communication to the outside permitted, so of course you aren't able to connect with anyone. Oh, is it Yushi? Xie Lian panted lightly and held his breath. It sounded as if the one communicating with Jun Wu at the moment didn't know what the situation was at the heavenly capital, so Jun Wu was also nonchalantly lying to the other party. And the excuse he used was intricately appropriate. With the case of Blackwater's impersonation surfacing, the waves it caused were atrocious, worthy of attention, so it was reasonable for the entire court to be locked down. Even if Xie Lian screamed and yelled, the person on the other end wouldn't be able to hear him, and so he decided to just observe calmly and act accordingly. It was a good while before there was a noticeable, minuscule change in his expression. "Oh," he replied warmly, "you wish to come to the heavenly capital? Of course you can. The case this time is indeed not a small one, so since you have the heart to come help, you are of course most welcome." The other party actually volunteered to come help out in the heavenly capital? Is this the person that Hua Cheng's talking about that's going to help them? Is this them? If they had volunteered several hours earlier, then it would have been more helpful, since they were definitely in need of aid. But this timing? The entirely heavenly capital had already fallen and became a layer of demons, so this was no different than jumping into a fire pit. On the side, Jun Wu said a few more simple words that ended the communication. Xie Lian immediately questioned, "Who's coming?" The fetus spirit seemed to know it was not a creature of light and quietly crawled into the shadows and hid. Jun Wu, on the other hand, only gave a small smile. "Oh, what's the rush? You'll see soon enough." This was out of his expectations. Xie Lian wondered incredulously, "You're going to let me see? Didn't you tell the other party the heavenly capital is in lockdown and every heavenly official is being investigated?" "Of course," Jun Wu replied, "but I should at least have trustworthy left and right hands." Ling Wen was technically still on the run, so naturally she couldn't play the role of Jun Wu's left or right hand, thus the task fell on Xie Lian's head. Just as he was contemplating, Jun Wu studied him for a moment and said warmly, "Shanla, just be good and cooperate. Don't bother with any silly tricks. I know you too well. I know everything on your mind." Jun Wu played with that blood-filled curse shackle in his hand absent-mindedly and added, "You said it yourself. To me, Yin Yu was completely insignificant. Actually, it should be said that all heavenly officials in the heaven court, big or small, are insignificant in my eyes. If you expose anything, you will understand what will happen. So don't give anything away. Tidy yourself up. They'll be here soon." Xie Lian didn't speak, but he did indeed crawl up from the floor, dusted himself off, and really did tidy himself up. He walked over to stand in the position that he always stood, right next to Jun Wu's side. Jun Wu proved just like that. Oh, shit! While Jun Wu's threat was very effective, Xie Lian also discovered something. He didn't seem to want whoever was coming to realize the truth of how the heavenly capital had fallen. This made him want even more to know exactly who was coming. Yes! Okay! 2 instants time later, before the Great Martial Hall, several figures appeared. They saw a lady cultivator in verdant robes riding a burly black ox, a sacred sword hanging on her waist, approaching languidly with several farmers following behind, each varying in sizes. It was the Rainmaster who had come. Xie Lian was slightly surprised based on how Jun Wu acted. The way he acted after he was exposed, he'd kill whoever would block his way, and should have locked up anyone who approached, so why was he wary of the Rainmaster? Naturally, nothing could be learned right now. The moment she entered the Great Martial Hall, the Rainmaster inclined her head slightly towards the two. "Your Royal Highness, my lord, how do you do?" Xie Lian pretended nothing was the matter and also returned the greeting, "Lord Rainmaster." He appeared polite and unfazed, but his mind was spinning. Just what could he do to tell the Rainmaster the real situation here at the heavenly capital? Jun Wu spoke. "It's been a long time since the Rainmaster has last come to the heavenly court." The Rainmaster, however, gave an irrelevant answer. "This lockdown at the heavenly capital is rigorous." Her words sounded as if she was puzzled, and Jun Wu responded, "Well, it couldn't be helped. With the Blackwater case thus, the middle court has already plucked out over 50-some fake heavenly officials. It's deeply concerning if there are other pawns planted in the upper court." "I see," the Rainmaster said. The 3 of them chatted simply for a bit, and only then did Xie Lian realize that when Jun Wu spoke, whether it was a lie or truth, his bases were already perfectly covered with any flaws, exceedingly amazing. He had the mind to warn, but first he was afraid Jun Wu would notice and take it out on the other heavenly officials, and second he was also afraid to involve the Rainmaster, who didn't know what was going on, so his hands were tied. The Rainmaster didn't seem to notice anything unusual, and only inquired if there was anything that required her help. Jun Wu replied, "Not at the moment. However, once the investigation is complete, I'm sure there will be plenty of need for your assistance." "Then I will remain in the heavenly capital for now, and await for summoning," the Rainmaster said. Jun Wu maintained his smile. His thoughts couldn't be read, but even when they reached this point, he still hadn't shed all pretenses. "Oh, that sounds good. You've been absent from the capital for years, so it's good to take this chance to refamiliarize yourself. Your Rainmaster residence has been empty for many years now." The Rainmaster nodded slowly and slowly stood down. Xie Lian knew the moment she left she would be monitored and felt slightly anxious. Suddenly, the Rainmaster turned around and spoke. "Your Highness." Xie Lian's heart skipped. Does Lord Rainmaster have guidance to impart? Could she have finally noticed something wrong? However, the Rainmaster said, "Nothing to impart. I've been away from the heavenly capital for many years, so I've brought some souvenirs. I thought I'd gift you some. Would you be willing to receive them?" Xie Lian hadn't expected it to be something like this and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yeah, thank you." Jun Wu, of course, never took gifts and smiled as he allowed the Rainmaster's escorts to enter. "Shanla, Lord Rainmaster's to gift you presents. Why don't you accept quickly?" The way he said it made Xie Lian out to be a young child in need of discipline. Guests came to make a visit, brought a gift for the child, and the elder would make the child come out to receive it before having the child utter thanks. Xie Lian had no choice, and a farmer approached, presenting with both hands a package of something wrapped very tightly. Xie Lian uttered his thanks casually and taking the package distractingly. Suddenly his face changed, like he discovered something unusual. His back was facing Jun Wu, and Jun Wu shouldn't have been able to see his expression, but still he inquired, "What kind of gift is this?" When the Rainmaster saw he'd taken the gift, she raised her hands in courtesy and smiled. "It's nothing valuable, just some local specialties grown from the earth. If there's nothing else, I will take my leave." "Please," Jun Wu said. Thus, the Rainmaster tugged at the black ox, took her escorts, and slowly moved towards the Rainmaster residence that had been abandoned for many years. Xie Lian was still holding that present in his arms and was just about to leave when Jun Wu called out, "Hold it!" Xie Lian stopped as if his feet were nailed to the ground. Jun Wu then said, "Come here." Xie Lian went back to the Great Martial Hall and turned around to look at him. Jun Wu stepped off the throne and took the package that was tightly gripped in his hold before he said, "Now you may go." He certainly was a distrustful one and directly took away the gift that the Rainmaster had given. Xie Lian glanced at him and wordlessly returned to the palace of Shanla. Once he returned to the palace of Shanla, Xie Lian was restless, so he paced back and forth within the hall. An unknown amount of time had passed when suddenly he heard a bright and clear voice, "Your Highness." Xie Lian whipped around, and he saw a raggedly clothed young man with a headscarf wrapped around his head, and somehow unnoticeably had hopped onto the windshield. He was perching atop it, grinning playfully at him. Xie Lian was overjoyed and dashed out for 2 steps before he suddenly remembered this youth and had called him "Your Highness" just now, and Xie Lian stopped in his step. He asked, a little uncertainly, "Are you Song Long?" The youth laughed heartily, hopped from the window, and yanked off the headscarf. Black hair flowed down, but was immediately tied up high, revealing under the hair a handsome and pale face that was completely different. It was a face Xie Lian was infinitely familiar with. Hua Cheng twirled his red headscarf leisurely and sighed, "Oh, Gege, my dear Gege, this time, wanting to see you is as hard as ascending to the heavens." Oh! Earlier, at the Great Martial Hall, the moment Xie Lian received the Rainmaster's gift, he did indeed notice something unusual. However, what was unusual wasn't the gift itself, but the person who was delivering the gift. Oh! When he took the package, he felt the other party hold his hand and squeeze. Oh my God! It had to be said that this gesture was frivolous. If it was done to a lady, then it'd be intentionally flirty. Oh, well, it's flirty now! At the time, Xie Lian had only blinked, but didn't express anything and gazed over without sounding an alarm. The one who was standing before him was a tall youth. While that youth was dressed the part of a farmer wearing patched, muddy clothes with a headscarf wrapped around his head, his face was still handsome and delicate, the light in his eyes twinkling. However, the light only twinkled in that instant when the two eyes met, and when Xie Lian blinked again to see, the youth had returned to his shy and naive disposition, and stood down with a bowed head. Since Hua Cheng had come seeking him at the palace of Shanla, then naturally all the monitoring eyes in the surrounding area had been taken care of. The moment Xie Lian saw him, he felt him to be incomparably dependable, and there was nothing left to worry about. Oh my God! What is happening? Okay, yes! Good! Good, he's somehow there! What? Chapter 214, Breaking the Standstill, a well-timed gift. 2. Hua Cheng hadn't even walked over before Xie Lian had already forcefully glomped over. Ah! It was a powerful glomp, but Hua Cheng wasn't pushed back by the force at all, not even a wobble. He only placed his hands on Xie Lian's back, chuckling lightly without speaking. Xie Lian was just feeling cheered when he suddenly remembered something. He said quickly, "Oh wait, so long, the Emperor Jun Wu is quite wary of you, and you should have been guarding the human array at the royal capital. He must have sent eyes down to watch you, so if you vanished all of a sudden, wouldn't he notice? Besides, is it really all right for the Windmaster to be guarding the array by himself?" However, Hua Cheng replied, "Don't worry, Gege, it's already been taken care of. No flaws will be exposed for the moment." Xie Lian figured he probably blocked the eyes of Jun Wu that was sent or left a clone down below, so he didn't press for more on how things would be taken care of. Just then, Hua Cheng remarked leisurely, "It seems that Gege missed me very much." Xie Lian remembered the messed up, inadmissible words they exchanged through the spiritual communication in front of Jun Wu, and then he noticed how he himself was currently holding Hua Cheng tight, not letting go. He immediately loosened his grip, straightened himself, and replied with a schooled voice, "Ahem, yes, well, you said we needed to enlist the help of someone, and so that someone was the Rainmaster." Hua Cheng smiled at him cheerily. "Correct. The Rainmaster has been in the lower realms for years, and just so happened to be roused by the opening of Mount Tonglu. To return to the heavens to check things out is perfectly logical, and if Jun Wu refused to allow her up without proper reason, the Rainmaster would no doubt notice things were amiss. So of course he had to let her come back up. Gege, don't worry. It's fine. You can keep holding me like that. I don't mind!" It's Xie Lian softly cleared herself. "No, it's all right. Thank you. But why can't he do anything to the Rainmaster? Gege might not know this. The Rainmaster is a heavenly official who manages agriculture. This godly position might seem dreary on the surface without any major benefits, so most aren't interested. But it's actually quite unique. Currently, the only heavenly official that manages agriculture is Yushi Shuang." Yushi's strong, right? Xie Lian mused and deduced the intricate reasons. Hua Cheng continued, "If the Rainmaster was killed directly, and a better heavenly official couldn't be found to replace her, the people put food above all else. If agriculture isn't running smoothly, the world will be thrown into chaos. You don't let people eat, people won't give you a job. Besides, being displeased with the Rainmaster, the people of the world might also begin to be dissatisfied with the great god above the Rainmaster's head, which means if he isn't careful, the fire can burn all the way onto him. If things aren't controlled adequately, it might incur riots to topple gods. Riots to desecrate the temples and topple his divine statues, just like the people of Shanla did once." Hua Cheng added, "On top of that, the Rainmaster doesn't establish temples or shrines and hasn't resided in the heavenly capital for years and has no desire to be promoted. So there really isn't anything to threaten or coerce her with. Externally, it's hard for him to find a proper reason to banish the Rainmaster, so it's difficult to make a move. Internally, his position can remain stable as so long as the Rainmaster continues to manage agriculture, so he would keep up the pretense for as long as he can, deceive her first, and then decide what to do after should the truth come out." Damn! Xie Lian was relieved. "Oh, I see, thank goodness, that was close. That the Lord Rainmaster would help. She really is coming to our aid in a time of need. Hopefully her acting is extraordinary. Oh, by the way, we have to go to find the Guoshi first. There are many things I have to ask them to get proper answers." The two didn't dally any longer. I wish they would have, had a moment, but no time. And sped out of the palace of Shanla. The moment Xie Lian crossed the threshold, he was startled by a row of guards watching the entrance. He was just about to whip them out with Ruyi when he noticed that each of them were like wooden dolls. Not just in posture, but even their expressions didn't change. They'd been petrified by Hua Cheng. As they went, Hua Cheng's vambraces shimmered silver, transforming into silver butterflies. They gradually lost color, hiding into the air. Camouflage butterflies! By now, there were probably hundreds of thousands of wraith butterflies that were dispersed through the heavenly capital. Along the way, they'd suddenly go up or go down, abruptly hide or appear, perfectly dodging every patrolling guard. Hiding in an alley, watching troops of patrolling guards stomp by, Hua Cheng said while standing next to Shanla, "After this stretch, we'll take the path ahead and above." Xie Lian nodded and leapt onto the roof following Hua Cheng. The two fled across the roofs one after the other, leaving no trace behind. A short while later, Xie Lian dropped onto the edge of an eave and abruptly stopped, looking back at Hua Cheng, seeming to be pensive. Seeing him still, Hua Cheng also stopped. "What is it? Have you noticed something?" Xie Lian frowned slightly and nodded, said pensively, "No, it's just, I feel like this scene has played out somewhere before." Before he finished, Hua Cheng suddenly hugged his waist, and the next moment the two fell from the rooftop. Xie Lian felt the world spin, going topsy-turvy, his bamboo hat slipping off from his back, about to fall to the ground, and he swiftly and lightly snatched it back. Meanwhile, Hua Cheng held him in his embrace, and the two hung upside down from the eaves of the roof. Above them, something patta-patta-patta crawled past rapidly. Oh! Xie Lian was no longer a stranger to that sound. It was the sound of the fetus spirit crawling. Who knows whether it was patrolling in a showy manner or just what? Just then another voice came from below. "Oh!" I'm not going to say his name. It was Xie Lian! Xie Lian cried, "Oh no!" in his head. The fetus spirit was still on top of the roof, and if Xie Lian was to walk over from below, wouldn't they be discovered? Xie Lian couldn't be sure what Xie Lian's reaction would be, whether she'd be grateful for Hua Cheng saving her life, or whether she would yell to alert people. Those light and hurried steps were coming closer and closer, and were just about to turn the corner. Thankfully, right then the fetus spirit finally jumped down from the other side of the roof. The two immediately flipped over and hopped on top of the building. Xie Lian let out a breath of relief. When Xie Lian peeked out from the corner of the wall, she saw her son, who had jumped onto the ground. She let out a breath of relief and came about. "Oh, so. Don't run around randomly. This is a strange and unfamiliar place, rather scary. If you ran off and disappeared, Mom won't even know where to go find out. Why did you come here?" She casually glanced around and saw the establishment plaque of this palace and backed away a couple of steps. It was only after seeing this reaction that Xie Lian remembered that the golden palace beneath their feet was the palace of Nanyang, which meant Feng Xin was locked inside here. Okay! Xie Lian must have also known this, and her face twitched slightly. A moment later, she looked down to scold the fetus. "Well, what are you doing coming here?" However, that fetus spirit was hugging something white and chunky. Crunch, crunch, like it was gnawing at it. Xie Lian yelled at it. "What's that? What are you blindly eating at? Spit it out!" Xie Lian looked closely and discovered that it was a big, solid white radish. And he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No need for her to say anything. The fetus spirit obviously thought it didn't taste good. Pew, pew, it spat out the radish forcefully, shrieking as it did so, like it was throwing a tantrum. Xie Lian instantly went up to cradle it, coaxing, Okay. So, it's such a good boy. If it doesn't taste good, then don't eat it anymore. Only poor bastards and silly gods like to eat those things. We don't eat those." Only a birth mother could cradle such a deformed and horrifying creature in her arms and still comfort it in a gentle voice. That fetal spirit wiggled its chubby white body in her arms and purred happily. Xie Lian watched the scene play out, and a sudden inexplicable sympathy grew in his heart, but he was puzzled. How was there such a large white radish in the heavenly capital? Hua Cheng raised his brows and replied, "Well, Gege, have you forgotten?" "Yes! It was one of the gifts grown from the earth, from the souvenirs the Rainmaster brought you." So that was the present the Rainmaster had gifted him. Xie Lian tried to imagine what Jun Wu's face would have been like when he opened the wooden box and saw a giant white radish, but it was impossible to imagine. His attempt a failure. It appeared that after Jun Wu had finished inspecting the gift and determined it would be nothing suspicious, he cast the giant white radish off to feed the fetus spirit. It was practically like feeding a dog. Oh. At first, after the fetus spirit had spat it out, it kicked that giant white radish away in disgust. But after hearing Xie Lian's words, it seemed to be pensive. Then it leapt out of its mother's embrace. It hopped over and picked up the radish with its mouth before hopping into the palace. If Xie Lian didn't examine it closely, it did look like a smooth-skinned, hairless white dog. Xie Lian called out, "Oh, don't go in! That's..." The soldiers guarding the palace of Nanyang were probably informed by Jun Wu beforehand that this fetus spirit was his pet or hunting dog, and they didn't blink, nor did they stop it. Without any choice, Xie Lian could only follow it inside. The fetus spirit seemed to be harboring deep animosity towards Feng Xin, and Xie Lian was worried that it would cause harm to Feng Xin. He turned his head so long. On the tip of Hua Cheng's fingertip, there rested a transparent butterfly. A wraith butterfly is already perched on her person. Xie Lian nodded, and the two monitored. So they're going to look in. Oh, man. They both love just peeking out on everybody's business, right? Just monitor the situation inside the palace of Nanyang. They saw Xie Lian was bent low, sneakily slipping into the palace as if she didn't want anyone to discover her. She whispered, so. However, it was impossible not to be discovered. The fetus spirit hopped into the main hall, and there was one man meditating there. He blinked open his eyes, and they met hers, both of them taken aback. Function was stunned first, then delighted, rising to feet. Xie Lian, why have you come? Are you all right? You've come just in time. Help me. Just then, that fetus spirit suddenly started howling, jumping between the two, spitting that giant white radish onto the ground and then kicking it forcefully with its back legs. The giant white radish, with a few bites missing, was sent flying and smacked squarely into Function's face, creating a big dong noise. After kicking the radish, it was feeling rather proud and pleased, crying, "Wah!" randomly and cackling evilly, as if it was waiting for its mother to praise it. Function was almost knocked out by this thing, and a line of blood instantly streamed down from his nose. He wiped it away and yelled angrily, "Well, what are you doing? Stay still, will you?" He was fierce, but that fetus spirit was even more ferocious, and screeched at him while slithering its tongue. Function took a sharp step forward, ready to grab him, but his arm got bitten by its wide, bloody mouth, and he couldn't get rid of it no matter how hard he tossed his arm. This familiar scene was both horrifying and hilarious, and when Function couldn't be rid of it no matter what, he was even more enraged. "Well, what the fuck? What's the actual fuck? Are you looking for a beating? What the hell?" Xie Lian snapped out of it and cried, "Well, stop! What right do you have to yell and beat him?" To be called out like this, Function was startled, and half of his spirit diminished as he argued. He recognized a crook for a father. Why would he be on Jun Wu's side? How did he turn out like this? Xie Lian clicked her tongue. How? Isn't it because of you? It's the father's fault for only raising without educating. Oh my God! Oh, if it wasn't for you slacking off on your duty as a father, well, then would your own son have been dug out from his mother's womb to be made into something like this? What the hell? The hell you gave life to! With every reproach, Function backed a step. His voice also diminished greatly. But I didn't know about this at all. At the time, it was you who told me to scram. Ha! Xie Lian exclaimed. I told you to scram to help you. You came to this bitch's bedside every day with that godforsaken gloominess. You think I didn't know what you were thinking? You would come to serve that crown prince of yours and collect enough money to redeem my freedom. At the same time, you were battered and bruised, tired and annoyed. Since you were too embarrassed to just toss your sleeves and leave, then I might as well send you off. He says, I was very tired at the time. Function cried, but I was never annoyed with you. I wanted to redeem you. Oh my God, they're just listening on this, just the tea. Xie Lian jabbed at his chest. Well, please, redemption. You know very well in your heart whether you could actually redeem the price tag of this bitch with the meager skills you had back then. You wish you could split every penny in half and spin it double every day. Going on the streets every day to busk, and you still had to go back and pay your respects to your crown prince and your old emperor. It's already pretty good I didn't throw myself at you to add to your burdens. Expecting you to redeem my freedom, what a dream. You didn't say this at the beginning. We even made promises. I always keep my word. To feed without teaching is the father's fault is from the 5th verse of the 3 character classic, a simplification of the 6 Confucian classics to help teach young children. Read more at this. Ha ha. Xie Lian cut him off. There are plenty of promises, swears, and oaths out there, but think a bit for yourself. What have you given me, huh? Other than that golden belt. Oh wait, it was only that golden belt. And you even exhorted over and over never to sell it. Function had been backing up step after step by jabbing her, his expression both stiff and shamed. The more Xie Lian spoke, the angrier she became. Or, did you mean that godforsaken protection charm? My heart must have been smeared with pig's grease to believe that shitty protection charm could protect anyone. There's barely any good luck, but there sure was a shit ton of bad luck. You had less and less money, but your temper was worse and worse. What was I to do if I didn't let you go, huh? Torment you to death this way? Torment you to the point where you'd complain about me, hate me, be annoyed with me, no longer want to see me ever again? It wasn't just Function. Even Xie Lian, who was currently above the palace in Nanyang, didn't know what to say anymore. So this was how it was. Xie Lian recalled many things. The early morning departures and the late night returns back then. The exhausted Function. The randomly happy, randomly depressed Function. And the Function who tried once to borrow money from Xie Lian with great difficulty. The insignificant, unusual gestures suddenly all had an explanation. Function was Xie Lian's servant, his good friend, but not his slave. He could have built his own home, had his own family, and he had actually already met those people, but the encounter just had to be during Xie Lian's first banishment, the toughest days they suffered back then. At the time, Xie Lian was having trouble surviving himself, so how could he possibly have noticed those details? He was suffering. Function was also suffering. Everyone was suffering. And in the end, the two finally couldn't keep it going. Perhaps Xie Lian had long foreseen this ending. But even if it was during that period of time, Function did still do his utmost to try and support him. He'd even gifted Xie Lian his protection charms that no one cared for anymore, and told her that this thing could grant good luck, which is why Xie Lian would carefully put it away, tucking it in the robes of the unborn child. Of course, in the end, it was proven that the protection charm didn't bring them any good fortune at all. Xie Lian looked as if she had said these things, as if she had said something she shouldn't have, and picked up the fetus spirit on the ground in a hurry, turning to leave. Function called out, "Xie Lian!" He pulled at his hair and actually looked to be at a loss, sighing and lamenting. Come back, Function begged. I still feel I want to take care of both of you. I should have taken care of both of you. I have a duty. I promised you. Xie Lian turned around and stared at him intently for a moment, tightening the hug of the fetus spirit in her arms and humphed. There's no need. I know you're disgusted with this son of yours. It's nothing but some demonic creature in your eyes. It's fine. I'm not disgusted. Function finally came back to his senses and he countered, I'm not disgusted. Then how come you're so mean to him every time? Xie Lian questioned. Can you really take him for your own son? As long as he can return to the right path, how can I not? Function replied. Xie Lian sneered. Then let me ask you again. You're a heavenly official. Do you dare to recognize it as your son? Function was taken aback. This reaction was natural. That fetus spirit clung to its mother's arms, baring its teeth and growling at him like it was an ugly, poisonous vermin that wasn't fully grown, or perhaps like a crippled, savage infant beast. Either way, it was not human. What kind of heavenly official would dare to admit such an affair? To recognize such a demonic creature as their own son? This was definitely a giant stain, and his worshippers, his merits, his reputation would all be greatly affected. Ah, the temptation goes! Chapter 215. The path shan't go astray, but the mandates are all the same. However, Function wasn't dumbfounded for too long before he had an answer. He was just about to respond, but Xie Lian only stared. Forget about it. You don't need to say anything. You're someone else's prisoner right now. Whether you dare to claim your son would all be empty words. I wouldn't believe anything you say. Don't say any more. Even if you're willing, I might not be. That fetus spirit was curled in her arms, slithering its tongue at Function, snickering in a grown-up voice. Xie Lian spanked it forcefully with a slap on its behind, scolding, What face is you making still? I told you not to run off. You're driving me mad. The ugly little face shriveled a bit and finally stayed still. The mother and child hurried out of the palace of Nanyang while Function yelled from behind, Xie Lian! Xie Lian! No response. In the end, there was only him left once again with the palace of Nanyang. Function slumped, falling back into his seat, glaring at that giant white radish that was left behind, covered with rows of crooked teeth marks. He glared at it for a good moment, his right hand supporting his head up. Then he laid flat on the ground. Even the energy to curse had left him. Above the palace of Nanyang, Xie Lian also sighed. Just then, Hua Cheng suddenly spoke up. Gege, do you still remember that night at Mount Yuzhen when that fetus spirit had also appeared? Xie Lian knew he was purposefully changing the subject, but that business with the fetus spirit appearing at Mount Yuzhen was also questionable, so Xie Lian was cooperative and forced himself to lighten up. I remember. Oh my god! Oh yeah! Oh! I remember! At the time when I was writing in the marriage sedan, it used a nursery rhyme to give me hints on how to find the ghost bride, which was Shanji. It also didn't let anyone else hear it. It was only me specifically. I wonder why. Oh my god! It was the fetus spirit was that one singing to him. Oh! Probably by Jun Wu's direction, Hua Cheng said. Well, the answer to the riddle would be Jun Wu's objective, Xie Lian said. And the reason to why it's become a fierce spirit under Jun Wu's command. I'm afraid all those are all questions for the Guoshi. Then let's go ask, Hua Cheng said. Thank you! I've got good news for Gege. The Wraith Butterflies have already found where the Guoshi is held. Where? The Palace of Ling Wen. Oh my god. Inside and outside of the palace, the innumerable civil gods with scrolls stacked high as mountains rushing in and out were all missing. Instead, the new addition was the expressionless, heavenly martial guard patrolling rigidly. They dropped onto the corner of one of the roofs soundlessly. Xie Lian said, Guoshi is locked up here? Is Ling Wen watching him? Correct. With the brocade immortal on her, Ling Wen is considered both a civil god and a martial god right now. Well, shit! After observing intently for a moment, Xie Lian commented, well, then this is going to be tricky. Of course the heavily guarded person is the Guoshi. While the brocade immortal was no match for them, it still possessed a high cultivation, and it must be sharper than those patrolling guards on the Grand Avenue of the Heavenly Capital. If Xie Lian and Hua Cheng snuck into the palace of Ling Wen recklessly just like this, even if the Brocade Immortal couldn't defeat them, it could still very well detect them. Once the Brocade Immortal discovered them, then Ling Wen would also know for sure. Ling Wen and Jun Wu must be able to communicate with each other spiritually. If Ling Wen discovers us, then Jun Wu will discover us. Unless the Brocade Immortal isn't on her at the moment, then she'd only be a civil god and would not be able to detect us. And a removed Brocade Immortal is a mere robe. It won't be able to alert Jun Wu either. We have to think of a way to separate the two. However, Hua Cheng replied, we don't need to think of anything specifically. She'll have to take off that robe sooner or later. No explanations required, Xie Lian understood. The Brocade Immortal wasn't anything good after all. Its aura of evil was thick and heavy. Since Ling Wen wasn't formally banished, she was still considered a heavenly official, so to always be wearing it on her person would be bad for her health. She also needed to maintain her male form, which would exhaust her spiritual powers, and there probably weren't many who could keep up with that kind of exhaustion. There had to be a time every day when she took it off to rest. The two were whispering plans to each other when just then, a black-clad man strolled out from the palace of Ling Wen with a hand behind his back. He gave some sort of instructions to the guards guarding outside and then slipped into the side chambers. A moment later, he exited the side chambers by himself and entered the main hall anew. That man was Ling Wen. When he went in, he was in his male form, and he came out, she was in her original form. The black outer robe on her person also disappeared, and her steps weren't as light and energetic as when she was in her male form and visibly skilled in martial arts. She had indeed removed the robes, and now the Brocade Immortal was in the side chamber. The two exchanged a look. Now they're separated. Gege, you've got plenty good luck. You've got pretty good luck. Xie Lian puffed a breath and gave him a look. It's San Long's luck is pretty good. Watch on grinned. Main hall, side chamber. Are they deciding where they're going to go make out or something? Like, you two can be flirting at a time like this? Stop! After a thought, Xie Lian decided, let's go with the side chamber. Who knows what the situation is like inside the main hall of the Palace of Ling Wen. And if the Guoshi is guarded right next to Ling Wen, then we won't be able to get around her. But if we can get our hands on the Brocade Immortal, maybe we'll still have room to talk. Thus, the two waited for a bit, and when the guards were changing, they took advantage of the timing and hopped off the roof, sneaking into the side chambers. The moment later they leapt inside, Xie Lian wiped away his cold sweat. No matter what, sneaking into a private chambers of a lady official wasn't anything to be proud of. Oh, come on! However, after he saw the state of the side chamber, his nervous expression faded a bit. Xie Lian's old chamber was more sumptuous than this. Feng Xin's was more disorderly, and Mu Qing's was more tasteful and exquisite. In any case, this didn't look like the private chamber of a lady official at all, so Xie Lian didn't feel as stressed. Oh, what a gentleman. There wasn't much furniture inside the chamber, so it was difficult to hide anything. It didn't take long before Xie Lian fumbled out a chest. However, the moment he opened it, the face darkened. It wasn't because dark energy slammed into his face at the moment he opened it, but because the chest was stacked full of black robes that were exactly the same. This again! It was the same thing last time when they had to try and find the real Brocade Immortal within hundreds of different clothes. It was a mess looking for the thing, practically a nightmare. This time there weren't many sets, only a few dozen, but every robe was black with barely any difference. It was hard to tell which situation was more dispiriting. Was the Brocade Immortal actually here? Feeling his head throb, Xie Lian looked miserably and asked, San Long, what's Jun Wu doing right now? Do we have enough time? Hua Cheng had been monitoring all movements everywhere closely, and when he heard Xie Lian's inquiry, he laughed. He replied languidly, Gege, relax. We've got plenty of time. Jun Wu hasn't noticed you're gone. He's currently at the Great Martial Hall and has brought Mu Qing in to interrogate. By the looks of it, it'll be a while. Hearing this, Xie Lian was taken aback. Mu Qing? He's interrogating Mu Qing? Why? The wraith butterflies can't enter the Great Martial Hall, and I can't hear clearly, but you know, Hua Cheng said, staring at Xie Lian. It must not be anything good. Xie Lian recalled how Jun Wu had treated Yin Yu and felt vaguely anxious. But even if he worried now, it would be pointless, he said resolutely. Well, then let's hurry then. Let me try each of the robes on. San Long, come give me orders. I'm afraid of what Jun Wu is doing with Mu Qing, but we'll cross that threshold in the discussion. If the Brocade Immortal didn't want to be discovered, or if it didn't want to take the life of whoever put it on, it could just be worn casually. However, if someone made the other wear it and gave that person orders, then that person must obey the orders. Using this method, they should definitely be able to expose the real thing. The only downside was it was a bit dangerous. Hua Cheng said, let me do it. Xie Lian shook his head. Oh, San Long, you've worn the Brocade Immortal before, but for some reason it didn't really work on you. Maybe it's ineffective against Ghost Kings. Only I can do this. He removed his outer robe, dropping the white robe on the ground by his feet. Oh, Hua Cheng raised his brows and picked up a black robe to hand him. Then I will take up your offer. Oh, come on now. Xie Lian swiftly put on that robe. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Ling Wen's black robe wasn't revealing in the bosom area. Oh my god, wasn't sensual in any way. It was very conservative and proper, so putting it on wasn't difficult. Xie Lian looked up. Okay, now give me an order. Oh. Hua Cheng's right hand was holding his left elbow, while his hand supported his chin, and he looked at Xie Lian, seeming to be thinking seriously for a moment before he says, Gege, my order is... A moment later came the anticipated command, and Hua Cheng smiled happily. Let's borrow some spiritual powers. Of course, Xie Lian understood what he meant by borrow spiritual powers, and his head almost smoked. He quickly took off the robe and said, it's not this one! Oh, what a shame, it's not this one. Hua Cheng lamented. Xie Lian schooled his expression, Sun Long, this isn't right. You have to be more serious. Don't give orders like these. Hua Cheng replied modestly, am I not serious enough? Then what kind of orders do you mean? Can Gege be more specific on that? Xie Lian coughed twice softly and replied with seriousness, either way, you can't make me borrow spiritual powers from you. Everything else is fine, like turn around in a circle or jump twice or something or whatever you want. Hua Cheng cocked an eyebrow. Everything else is fine? Very well, I understand. Then he handed Xie Lian another set of robes. Xie Lian swiftly put it on and looked up again at Hua Cheng. Hua Cheng watched for a moment. Gege. A short moment later, he smiled widely. Don't borrow spiritual powers from me. Ah! How can he be careless? How can Hua Cheng do this? Xie Lian hastily removed the robe. Okay, it's not this one either. But Hua Cheng stopped him. Well, wait, Gege. Who says it's not this one? You haven't proven it yet. Don't borrow spiritual powers from me, was Hua Cheng's order. If Xie Lian was to prove the robe he was wearing right now wasn't the brocade immortal, he must obey Hua Cheng's orders, which meant he had to do the thing that was opposite, which was borrowing spiritual powers from Hua Cheng. Going around in circles, they came back to the same starting point. Xie Lian was shaken while staring at Hua Cheng's serious face. You're too cunning. You can't do that. Hua Cheng hugged his arms. Why not? Gege, didn't you say you're so yourself? Other than to borrow spiritual powers from me, everything else is fine. Since you didn't like that command, I gave something that was the complete opposite. How can you say I'm cunning? Wasn't I just staying true to your words? Xie Lian didn't know whether to retaliate at all, and he raised his finger to him, pointing at him for a moment. I can't win with you. Stop playing around. Then without delay, he rushed up and chewed. Even though he knew there was clearly no one around, after he'd done the deed, he still looked around, as if cautious anyone might be peeping. Hua Cheng's face didn't twitch in the slightest. He said calmly, very good. It's been verified. This one's indeed not it either. Xie Lian removed the black robe. Don't give that order again either, all right? Hua Cheng passed the third one to him and smiled. Fine, fine, as Gege wishes. Xie Lian took the robe from him woefully, thinking to himself, it feels like Sun Long is getting harder and harder to deal with. Or is this just my imagination? He was still worried that Hua Cheng might give him a more prankish order. But joking around twice, Hua Cheng indeed stopped teasing him. Yet now that he was being serious, Xie Lian actually felt it was odd. However, after trying on the few dozen robes inside the chest, Xie Lian didn't obey any of the orders. Oh. Could the real brocade immortal not be here? That was impossible. Ling Wen must have already taken it off, and the entire chest was tainted with its aura of evil, so it must be here. Hua Cheng leaned against the door bar. Gege, it seems this brocade immortal isn't just ineffective against me. It doesn't work for you either. What was the problem? What? No! Are you kidding? What? Wait, what? No! Oh my gosh. Well. On the one hand, levity, I guess. I guess with these two fools, I guess levity with them, but on the other hand, it's like MXTX does not give you a break. You have no time to really think about things until the next thing happens. I'm like Yen Yu's potential corpse is just like sitting there going cold and you guys are flirting? What are we doing? But what can we do? We don't know whether to laugh or cry at this point, right? So I darkened this to make it a little bit easier for us to see, right? Yeah. There are so many things that MXTX is doing in this volume. And again, there are no pictures this chapter set. How dare she? How dare you, artist, not draw something? Give me a picture, please. I need my thumbnails to have something in them. Otherwise, I'm going to find Star Ember art or whatever. But yeah, MXTX gives you just enough information to go, here you go. Here you go. But then, like, on the other hand, you get just enough information and then you still don't have enough to formulate a concise, concrete answer. And it's so damn frustrating, right? So frustrating. So we get the ring brought up. The ring gets brought up. I feel like this discussion is going to have a lot of theories, a lot of what ifs, a lot of where I think the story is going. They necessarily are not all going to be accurate, but what can we do? At this point, MXTX is not giving us answers. They're just giving us, like, here's some random information. You can make a determination of what you think about them, but I'm not giving you concrete answers until later on in Volume 8. And you're like, thank you for making me question everything for 300 pages is essentially it. So I'm going to be positing a lot of theories. Chances are they're going to be wrong. That's okay. You all know this. There's like a theory document on Discord somewhere. Y'all can add to it. Have fun. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of things. The ring gets brought up. We're going to talk about that. The fetus spirit is like, what Jun Wu is treating it like it's pet or something, which is creepy as hell. Jun Wu and Bai Wusheng definitely are seeming to be the same creature at this point, although we don't know the why, the how, what's going on. I'm going to talk about that. But I definitely am thinking that Jun Wu is behind this fetus spirit origin. Definitely, that's seeming more likely to me because it's just using the fetus spirit like it just feels like it's just using the fetus spirit like a dog, and it adopted it as its own thing. It's creepy. I don't like it. And then Wu Yan things, the Guoshi. We got something with here that I'm like, okay, yes, that makes much more sense now. We're going to talk about it with him going after Xie Lian's throat. And then Yin Yu, are they alive? I put the cursed shackle on here because the cursed shackle may have their soul embedded in it. What do we do with that? So we're going to talk about it here. And then the Rainmaster. The Rainmaster being pretty much as powerful as Jun Wu. Essentially. We're going to talk about that. That's interesting, right? And then Qirong and Long Chunshu, Zhang Long got mentioned in this. Ling Wen, we got a brief glance of. Here's my thing. I would really love for Qirong, because Qirong's there. Yin Yu had the little Daruma doll of Qirong at some point. I'm just waiting. Qirong is like a little hand grenade. I'm waiting for it to go off. And I'm waiting for Qirong to just burst forth. I'm waiting for Qirong just to explode from within and cause chaos, because Qirong don't give a shit. Qirong's like, wow, the Supreme Ghost is here, let me cause a muck. I feel like that song, Let's Start a Riot, will start to play as Qirong, like, just causes chaos in the heavenly realm. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I feel like Qirong and the Rainmaster could ironically become maybe friends if Qirong was in a different life and was, you know, a chef or something, and the Rainmaster's like, I've got some food if you want to cook it. Like, in an alternate universe where Qirong's not a complete bastard, them and the Rainmaster could possibly have been friends, but here we are. So yeah, no pictures. I'm not bitter at all. So sad. Especially when there's no Manhwa chapter, I'm like, ah. But yeah, so we need to talk about this chapter set. We just witnessed like this tender, beautiful moment with Yin Yu last set, and we immediately transfer over to like shenanigans with HUALIAN, and I'm like, MXTX, what are we doing? So let's talk about this, the cursed shackle. So yes, I do think that it is possible the cursed shackle is of importance, the cursed shackle, and if we're going by the logic that Jun Wu / Bai Wusheng gave those shackles, or that they were given as banishment, it seems that they were like a liability or an insurance to possibly claim a soul. So it makes sense now. This is the thing. So Yin Yu's, if let's say Yin Yu's soul is in the shackle, well, what do we do with that? What do we do with that? Can we put a soul back in a body once it's been taken away? I don't think so. So the only possibility, oh my God, if Yin Yu's soul is in that shackle, then the only possibility is if we release the soul from the shackle, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be a little ghost fire. Does that mean Yin Yu has died and there's a chance that we could save Yin Yu's soul and they could be a little ghost? there'll be a little ghost that floats around Chan Yushin. Is that possible? Could that be the case? And then Chan Yushin has to be like, oh, Shishang, you're a little ghost fire. Oh my God, don't do that to me. And Hua Cheng's like, this is why I keep you around. Because you can relate. I don't know. I'm just like, how are they going to get the soul back in the body? That seems like something that can't happen in this world. I don't know. Oh my God. Well, we'll just have to wait and see, right? But for whatever reason, the cursed shackle, Jun Wu has a hold of it. Why would they care? Unless for reasons. I mean, are they going to try to like make Yin Yu a resentful spirit? Maybe. Who knows? If that's the case, we don't know. But for any reason, they're holding it as liability, right? And Xie Lian has 2 cursed shackles on them. And so, of course, they're a liability with Jun Wu. I love Xie Lian standing up to Jun Wu / Bai Wusheng in this. I love that from back in book 4, Xie Lian was like, I'm done with you, Bai Wusheng. Bye. But now what's so interesting is this idea that Xie Lian is standing up to Jun Wu and Bai Wusheng. Like, he's standing up to them being like, no, you're not going to boss me around. The only reason that Jun Wu is capable of doing it is because he literally has Xie Lian by the throat. He's making Xie Lian comply, not because Xie Lian's afraid of getting hurt, but because he knows that the other heavenly officials could be hurt instead. And he's like, well, I don't want any of my friends hurt. But he's definitely in a rebellious phase. For sure. And Bai Wusheng even comments on it, or Jun Wu. I'm going to be interchanging those names a lot, where they're just like, well, see how angry you are over this? And the thing about it is when they're like, I suggest you behave like before, a little more obedient, a little more respectful so I'm not angered. But you're wearing 2 of them. Oh. And that's the thing, like that, it seems like a Bai Wusheng thing to say, being like, why don't you just be a little innocent, obedient Xie Lian like you were before? And Xie Lian's like, well, that's before I knew you were a monster. So thanks. But there is this idea that Bai Wusheng is just like the idea of him trying to groom Xie Lian for sure. And the idea of this control over Xie Lian. And that's such a contrast to Hua Cheng, because Hua Cheng's powerful enough, if he wanted to, he could try to do the exact same thing that Bai Wusheng / Jun Wu is doing to Xie Lian now. But he's not doing that because Hua Cheng loves Xie Lian, and it's like a healthy, pure love and devotion, whereas Bai Wusheng's is like this fabricated, weird obsession that is controlling and demanding, and is trying to like groom Xie Lian at the same time. It's toxic. Like Bai Wusheng / Jun Wu's love for Xie Lian is toxic, whereas Hua Cheng's, ironically enough, is super healthy. So yeah. But I felt bad for Xie Lian because he literally has nothing to do. And so that's when, at first when he feels like the silver chain, like where he's trying to like feel the cursed shackle and he feels the silver chain, at first I thought that maybe this was about to get real kinky. I thought maybe Jun Wu was about to I thought for a hot second before I remembered that Xie Lian had the necklace, I thought for a hot second that Jun Wu was I thought he was gonna be like Jafar in Aladdin, and that Xie Lian was gonna be like Princess Jasmine when she's in the red outfit, and Jun Wu was gonna be like a delicate desert bloom like yourself, shouldn't be subjected to all this. That's where I thought it was going. Jafar was going, I thought that Bai Wusheng / Jun Wu was going the Jafar route, and was gonna I thought shit was about to get kinky, and was about to have Xie Lian buy a neck chain, and I was gonna be like, when did this become Modao Zushi? I thought that's where we were going. And I'm glad that's not the case. But there's a really interesting thing that MXTX does right here, where Xie Lian feels the neck, he feels the chain, right? And he feels the chain against him. And then it used to be cold, but because he'd worn it for so long, his body had warmed it up. And hanging from it was a crystal clear ring. And so Xie Lian feels it, and he grips the ring tight, and for some reason his heart was pounding faster and faster, as if he'd learned an incredible secret. So it's really weird, because we get at this point the idea that maybe the Guoshi, possibly the Guoshi was trying, when he lunged for Xie Lian's neck, he was trying to rip off the cursed shackle. Can you even do that? Can the Guoshi rip off the cursed shackle? Is that even possible? If so, how? How is that even a thing, if that was the case? How is that possible? How could the Guoshi rip off the cursed shackle? I mean, it would make sense that that's why they lunged at Xie Lian when they knew that there was, he wasn't going to hurt Xie Lian because Hua Cheng was there. So, how could he take off the curse shackle? I thought only Jun Wu could do that. So I don't know if the thought entered my head that maybe the Guoshi is actually originally Jun Wu and Bai Wusheng tricked him. What if it's the case that the Guoshi was originally Jun Wu up in like the equivalent of Jun Wu in the Heavenly Court, and Bai Wusheng snuck up there, booted the Guoshi out, and took his place as emperor, and the Guoshi like was banished, and then the Guoshi couldn't come back, and then because Bai Wusheng had assumed themselves as Jun Wu and all these people were worshiping and giving him power, then he had enough power to overthrow the Guoshi. Maybe, and the Guoshi still has some power residing in them, so they're like, whatever, they tried to save Xie Lian and it didn't work. I don't know. That's interesting. But the thing about the ring, let's talk about the ring. Because at that moment, Xie Lian's like, he says it was as if he had learned an incredible secret. And Jun Wu said, it's me, what is it? That's a weird transition, and I know it's supposed to be like a fake out, but for a second we have the idea of the ring. And so we have the idea, obviously, I've been thinking that it's Hua Cheng's ashes this entire time. And so Hua Cheng's like, well, if Xie Lian doesn't have the ring anymore, then there's no point in me existing. But that still seems kind of weird. Like, why? What? Maybe, could it be Bai Wusheng's ashes? And that was why there was that weird transition, right? Maybe it's Bai Wusheng's ashes and Xie Lian just doesn't even realize it, and Hua Cheng's giving him like control of Bai Wusheng and we don't even realize it yet. I don't know. Could it be the Guoshi's? If the Guoshi is a ghost, could it be the Guoshi's ashes? And he was like lunging to get the ring around Xie Lian's neck. Maybe instead of going to try to get the curse shackle, because it says it was like maybe another touch other than the curse shackle, and it was the silver chain. Maybe the Guoshi was trying to get the ashes from around his neck. Does that mean they're Bai Wusheng's? I don't know. I don't know. The ring is very mysterious, and it's been brought up now, so that means it's important, and we should probably pay attention to it. But there's still so many mysteries as to what it is, right? Because if it is Hua Cheng's ashes in the ring, why you'd think he'd be a little bit more afraid if Xie Lian was taken into custody, because what if somebody rips it off? But if it's somebody else's ashes, then Hua Cheng's like, I don't care. You're going to kill somebody if you destroy those ashes. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, we have the idea of the Rain Master coming. And this is the person that Hua Cheng wanted to help. This is who they wanted to get to help, I'm assuming, is the Rain Master. So I like that Jun Wu / Bai Wusheng is all about making sure that Rain Master is placated and is fine with what's going on. Don't want to make the Rain Master mad. I'm so amazed by that. Right? That's so baffling to me and so intriguing. Because Boo Wusheng, Jun Wu, Jun Wu as we call him, Jun Wu is like, oh no rush, they're going to come here. And Xie Lian's like, who would willingly come here? The moment they said they were going to willingly run to the Heavenly Court to meet them, it's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, at that point I was kind of thinking, well, it has to be whoever Hua Cheng was going to get to help them, because otherwise, why would you willingly come to the Heavenly Court? And who's left? Honestly, it's like, who's left of this group that hasn't shown up yet? The Rain Master's literally the only one. So it had to have been them. But, God, Jun Wu being like, you're going to stand by my side, and you're going to act obedient and do what I say, or I'm possibly going to hurt people. It's like, oh my God, it's terrifying. And Xie Lian's like, well, I might as well see who this is, so okay. And I'm glad Xie Lian went along with it, because they wanted to see how this played out. But I'm also glad that Xie Lian is like just internally not taking any of this shit anymore. They're over it. They're just like playing the part because they know that that's what they need to do in this moment, right? And so the Rain Master shows up, and Jun Wu acts all nonchalant, like just the comfiest, coziest person. And I love that the Rain Master clearly knows something's up, because they're like, this is really, you know. What's interesting is the Rain Master plays it perfectly. Hua Cheng has talked to the Rain Master, obviously, and gotten them to help. And the Rain Master can't seem too nonchalant, because then it'll be suspicious if she's too nonchalant. But she has to be just nonchalant enough that Jun Wu's like, oh, no, it's fine. Look, everything's okay, right? Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. I feel that Xie Lian and Hua Cheng, when they're sneaking around Ling Wen's palace, they are like the Saperstein siblings from Parks and Rec, where they're like, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Go look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious. And just picture Xie Lian and Hua Cheng sneaking around Ling Wen's palace to that song. It is amazing. But yeah, you have to be a great actress, and Yushi, the thing about it is Yushi's not really an actress, but she's so mysterious that you can't really read her. And Jun Wu is so desperate to get her out of there to where there's nothing a problem or amiss that it works out really well, right? And she's like, oh, I just wanted to bring you this gift, Xie Lian. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, here's your gift. And it was all a ruse. The gift is to get Jun Wu thrown off to where he thinks he has to get the gift, and then it turns out to be a damn radish that he feeds to the fetus spirit. And meanwhile, Xie Lian is reunited with his boo. His boo came in as a farmer. Look at that. But you could question why Hua Cheng had to come in with the Rainmaster, but it had to happen because the Rainmaster and all the farmers came in at once. It maybe should have been suspicious to Jun Wu when the Rainmaster came with a bunch of farmers, because that should have been suspicious to him, because the Rainmaster went to Mount Tonglu to look for the farmers because they didn't think they were going to be able to defend themselves. But here, the Rainmaster brings farmers with them to the Heavenly Court. Jun Wu should have probably have been suspicious of that, and maybe they are and not letting on at this point, but in hindsight, that seems like a weird move, right? Seems like a weird move. So yeah, so the Rainmaster's like, well, then I'll just go to my palace and wait till you need me to be summoned. And Jun Wu is internally screaming. Jun Wu just wanted her to show up, see that everything was taken care of, and leave. But instead, she's like, well, I'm just going to hang out in my villa that you made for me here since I got nothing else to do. And Jun Wu's like, inside. But they're like, oh, yes, sure, sounds good. Sounds great. You've been absent from here so long. So yeah, there'll be a great chance to refamiliarize yourself. Sure, just go back to the residence. It should be okay. And then gives him the gift. Yeah. I brought you some souvenirs, and I thought I'd gift you some. Won't you be willing to receive them? And Xie Lian's like, wait, what? What's happening? And it's just a gift. Some local specialties. Nothing valuable, grown from the earth. So the Rainmaster doesn't lie. That's exactly what they were. They didn't lie. They said it was a radish, and it was a radish. Just didn't know that Sanlong came with it. And so I love that the Rainmaster's like, I'll take my leave. And Jun Wu's like, please go. And so I love that Xie Lian, like Jun Wu is like such the worst. Like Jun Wu / Bai Wusheng like comes up, takes Xie Lian's gift. He's like, now you can go. Like they're just the worst in this chapter set. And they've just become so awful. Like they've become themselves. And Xie Lian's like, awesome. And then, Your Highness. Like a little Aladdin, speaking of which, like if Jun Wu is Jafar, then Hua Cheng is definitely Aladdin. I just love the idea of Xie Lian, like, and you see, like, Hua Cheng with the headscarf and everything, and he yanks it down, the black hair flows out, and he's like, it is I, Gege. Look at my disguise. I love it. It's so wonderful. And then just the idea that Xie Lian immediately runs into his arms and just embraces him, and they just hold that hug there for a long time. I was so afraid they wouldn't see each other for so long in this book, and they're already back together. IMXTX is like, I can't write them apart. They're too close. They're too intricately tied. I'm like, yes, great. So then he's like, wanting to see you is as hard as ascending to the heavens. Oh my gosh. Hua Cheng's like, I couldn't wait to see you. Shut up. So yeah. And then I love the idea that Xie Lian, as soon as he sees him, has nothing else to worry about. And that's where chapter 213 ends. Although they say the trick was in the Great Martial Hall when Xie Lian received the gift, he didn't realize it was Sanlong at the moment, but whenever it was handed to him, the gift, like the person handing the package to him, squeezed his hand. You know what that reminds me of? And you won't really know the reference unless you've seen The Untamed, but I instantly thought of it and was like, ah! So in The Untamed, Yao, who's one of the characters, and Zhizhen, who's one of the other characters, when they first meet, they like exchange gifts. And like there's a moment where like a box is passed from Yao to Zhizhen, and like their hands like touch. And it's like this very sensual moment. And you're just like, oh, there's something between them. That's what this felt like. So fun times. That's like one of my favorite moments of The Untamed is that damn box scene. And here we have it here. So yes, chapter 214. I love that Xie Lian just glomps over and pounces Hua Cheng, just pounces him, holds him, and he's like, wait a minute. He's like, shouldn't you be guarding the human array at the royal capital? Like, what? Is it okay to leave the Windmaster behind? And so Hua Cheng says that the array with the resentful spirits has been taken care of. So clearly it's the idea of the Windmaster with the Rainmaster. But what else? Like, is it really been taken care of that quickly? Like, he's like, no flaws will be exposed at the moment. Or Xie Lian also realizes that it could be a puppet of Hua Cheng who has part of their energy has been sent to take care of it in his place. So whether this is the real Hua Cheng, I believe it is. I don't think that... Here's the thing. Hua Cheng would rather leave a puppet with the Windmaster and the Rainmaster than to... And we assume the Rainmaster's still in the Heavenly Court, hanging out until further notice. But you would think that Hua Cheng wouldn't let the puppet go up and be glomped by Xie Lian. He would go himself. So he'd leave the puppet behind and take care of things. So that's fun. But yeah, so Xie Lian's like, okay, well, if you say not to worry, then I'm not going to worry, because Hua Cheng has always been, has things under control. And oh my God, Hua Cheng is just like, did you miss me, Gege? I'm like, Hua Cheng is just living up the idea that they're just living the idea up that Xie Lian and him are together now. And he's like, come on, Xie Lian. He's trying so hard to get Xie Lian to come out of his shell. And Xie Lian, like, going up and hugging him without being encouraged to do so is huge. But Xie Lian giving Hua Cheng a hug and all this, Hua Cheng is just pulling that out of him. Just getting that Xie Lian to come out of his shell, the Xie Lian that, like, loves Hua Cheng. And it's so good. So, yeah. And so here we talk about the Rainmaster's been in the lower realms for years. And they just happen to be roused by the opening in Mount Tonglu. So it all works out. It makes sense why they're there. And then it's like, well, why can't Jun Wu do anything to the Rainmaster? Because the Rainmaster kind of has it by the balls. I, as someone that grew up on a farm and as someone that's pretty tied to agriculture, I'm actually really in love with what MXTX does by this, by suggesting they are the only heavenly official surrounded by agriculture. And you think to yourself, well, why would the Rainmaster be the only one tied to agriculture? Well, it's because nobody wants to do it. Agriculture's hard. Farming is work. It's hard work. You don't get a lot of praise for it, and it's just like a thankless job. And these heavenly officials who've gotten so used to a life of luxury and being praised and not having to do anything, you think they want to toil away at agriculture? No, they don't. So they left it all to the Rainmaster, and the Rainmaster, who is so eager to please, is just like, no, I got this. I can do it. I'm fine. We got this. We're good. Like a simple farm girl. But here's the thing. Because they're the only one tied to agriculture, you need food to survive. I mean, other than water, what would people pray for in an emergency? They'd pray for food and shelter. So if you have everyone needing food to survive, and all these people pray to Yushi for food, that means that they've got some power. And they not only have some power from those prayers from those individuals, but they kind of have a connection directly to Jun Wu. Because if the people aren't happy, if the people start to get unhappy with the Rainmaster, then they're going to be like, well, who's over the Rainmaster? Well, I'm going to go the next step up and get mad at Jun Wu. And that will start this tower of dominoes of the fall of that entire, system. And Jun Wu doesn't want that if they need the power to keep being able to do what they... Jun Wu needs the power to stay in control. Lucky for Jun Wu, Yushi doesn't care about power. They don't care about any accolades or anything. They just want to do their job, ride their black steed, and just be in Yushi, not be bothered. Convenient for Jun Wu. But it's been like, they've been a constant power source connecting Jun Wu to the control that they have of the heavenly realm. If they start to get suspicious that something's happening, that power structure could completely fall apart. Which is so intriguing to me. And I love that MXTX brings it up because, yeah, a lot of people are just like, oh, it's just a farmer. I feel like farmers and people in agriculture get a bad stigma around them for being like uneducated or for being like uncultured. And I'm like, dude, I'm from a farm family and stuff. I would like to say that people from farms are pretty smart sometimes, right? But it's just that idea that they're pretty smart and a lot of them are humble. And that's kind of like Yushi. Yushi's very humble. They're very kind and simple, but they have an enormous amount of power to them, and they affect like a lot of chains of command. So I love that MXTX is tying that real world necessity of agriculture to Yushi and how they kind of have Jun Wu by the balls. It's great. I'm like, yes, please. And so I love it. They speed out of the palace and they're like, look, I love the Xie Lian's like, look, I've got a lot of questions to ask. I hope the Rainmaster can keep acting really good. She seems to be doing a good job so far, but we have got to ask the Guoshi questions. We've got to get this exposition out of the way. And I'm like, yes, let's move, plot. And so that's what they end up doing. So off they go. And I just love the idea that Hua Cheng has butterflies, like camo butterflies everywhere, doing surveillance to find out what's happening. Like, let's go figure out where the Palace of Lingwen is. Let's do all this. It was like, I love it. But yeah, so they go on the rooftop, right? And so there's this moment that Xie Lian, like, they're leaping from roof to roof. The two fled across the roofs, one after the other, leaving no trace behind. And a short while later, Xie Lian dropped to the edge of the eave and abruptly stopped and says, it feels like the scene is played out somewhere else before. What I thought was happening at the moment was Xie Lian jumping from the rooftops when he, like, disrupted the Grand Marshal Parade to rescue Hua Cheng. That was what I was thinking in that moment, but he could have been referring to something else. I'm like, that's what I thought of. I was thinking of Xie Lian jumping from the rooftops and like slowly billowing down and catching Hua Cheng, but in this case, Hua Cheng like hugs him and jumps down too. So I love that they are upside down under the eaves, and then there's the fetus spirit. By the way, yes, train spotting reference. That little fetus spirit crawling across the ceiling. Oh my God. Terrifying. Like, just, if you've never seen Train Spotting, it's a freaky movie, but that little baby on the ceiling is reminding me of the fetus spirit, and what a freaky thing, right? Nope. So the fetus spirit is like the little patrol dog that Jun Wu was like let out. And so who knew that we were going to have a moment with Jun Lan, and the fetus spirit getting with Feng Xin. So Feng Xin's been meditating inside, and apparently the gift that the Rainmaster gave Xie Lian was just a radish. I wonder if the radish has any type of properties, or if it's just a normal radish, or maybe it was just for Jun Wu to go, really? I love when Xie Lian says he wanted to imagine Jun Wu's face when he opened the box and there was a radish, and he'd be like, simpleton, what a simple farmer, her, you know? I love it, but I love the idea that this little like fetus spirit's been gnawing on this radish, and then we find Feng Xin meditating in his palace, which is very interesting. Like Feng Xin meditating when usually he's like erupting in anger is fascinating to me, right? It gives like a little bit more layers to Feng Xin's character, which I appreciate very much. I like that a lot. But yeah, crazy talk, right? So I am glad that Hua Cheng and Xie Lian did not go in and try to disrupt the conversation that was happening. Instead, they just listen on to the tea. Like a bunch of gossiping Nancys. They're like, let's just like eavesdrop and see what they're talking about. And I'm sure Hua Cheng was just like, oh, this is boring. I don't want to talk about it. No. But Xie Lian needed to hear this conversation. He needed to put two and two together, that Feng Xin had been trying all of these things. And they're all things we've talked about in previous discussions, like during those chapters of book 4. They're all things we've talked about that have been happening, where Feng Xin was trying to do too much at once. He was trying to stay loyal to Xie Lian while being loyal to Jun Lan, while caring for her and their unborn child, while trying to make money. He was stretching himself too thin, right? And it just wasn't working out. And I feel like she did the whole thing where she's like, if you love someone, you let them go. And she was like, I want you to go because I don't want you sticking around for us when you're barely able to survive. So she pushed him away. Then whatever happened to her and the baby happened, and then it was too late, right? And at that point, Feng Xin was too late to save them. And so now he's trying to rectify the situation and make up for it. And it's like, well, but what can we do, right? So yeah, this whole thing with the fetus spirit and the baby and them yelling at each other, and what do we do? Because yeah, I like the idea that Function's like I want to keep my promise to you, and she's like, you're making promises you can't keep. So the thing with Function is like we just had the thing with Yin Yu. Like Yin Yu was being tempted by the devil by saying like, this man took away your glory and power. Don't you want it for yourself? And Yin Yu was able to resist, right? That was the lesson that we learned from Yin Yu. He died supposedly because of it, but he was able to resist. Now we have Function being like, can you cast aside your pride to admit your son? Because Jun Lan's like, you say that you want to take us in. You say that you want us to, be with you and you want to watch after this kid. Are you willing to admit that this fetus spirit is your son? Because I love that she's sitting here like she's cradling him. She treats him like her baby. She's a ghost herself. So this is this little creature that's her baby child. I love that. I love that MXTX kind of shows motherhood from this light, that she loves this child unconditionally, no matter what the fetus spirit looks like. But now you have Function, who's always had this pride, like when working for Xie Lian, this pride as a heavenly official, and she's like, are you going to choose that over admitting your son? Because she points out very, appropriately, she, says, all the stuff you gave me turned out to be bad luck over and all. And Function says that he's not disgusted. But she says, let me ask you again, you're a heavenly official. Do you dare recognize it as your son? And she leaves before he can answer. And so that's the question, is like, what heavenly official would admit the affair? To admit it would be to risk losing your merits, your status, your worshipers. This is Function's test. Function's test is similar to Yin Yu's. Yin Yu passed the test. Yin Yu was tempted by the devil, passed the test. Now, it's not Jun Wu directly tempting Function, but it's the concept. It's kind of like all these characters are being tempted by their worst weaknesses. Yin Yu was tempted by their weakness, which is Chan Yizhen, overcame it. Good for him. And now Function's being tempted by his weakness, which this proper man that's fought to be a heavenly official and has all this pride and propriety to him. Jun Lan is saying, if you admit that this is your kid, then you are risking losing all your followers and you're risking losing everything. And can you do that? Because, it's the test of Function, because Function was so adamant about Xie Lian becoming a heavenly official again, and Xie Lian going through the process and going through the motions and doing everything properly. So the question is Function going to be able to do that? I think he is. I think by the end of it, Function's going to pass the test like Yin Yu did and say, yes, I'm willing to lose my followers if it means being with you and our kid. And if you can do that, we'll see. But I don't know. Does that mean he's going to have to die and become a ghost along with them? What does it even mean to be a god or a ghost anymore, I don't know. I feel like there's something in the works, because we know that you start out as a human. And when you die, you start out as a human. And either one or two things. But here's the thing. When you die as a human, you can become a ghost if you have an unresting soul, right? You can become a ghost. Or you can ascend to be a heavenly official. But ascension itself is a form of death. Really? And then the crazy thing is, both ascension, if you ascend, you can also descend back into being a human again, and potentially die and become a ghost. Or you can ascend again. It's just like this big cycle, right? And I want to know, like, where was the origin of it? How does it work? Has it always been like this? Is there some kind of connection? Like, were ghosts all, like, what is, to ascend is to be human, to fall is to human as well. So what is this all, how is the cycle going to go with the rest of the story, especially with the Guoshi and Jun Wu? I feel like we're on, like, there's a revelation on the tip of my tongue, and I can't quite understand what it is yet until it's brought right in front of our eyes. And so I'm waiting for that moment to happen. I really am. So We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's Function's test. I have faith that Function is going to meditate on it, and he's going to choose Xie Lian and the kid in the end and say, forget my followers. I choose you all. I have faith in Function. I do. I don't have faith in Mu Ching, which we're going to talk about here in a second. I don't have faith in Mu Ching. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about it here in just a moment, a wee moment. But yeah. So Function was about to respond, and then Xie Lian sneers and is like, no, leave. She's like, I won't believe anything you say. Even if you're willing, I might not be. So what's so sad is that Xie Lian, it's almost like Xie Lian doesn't want Function to make that choice yet because she wants him to think about it. She's like, if you make this choice on the fly without really meaning it, she's like, I want you to think about it, and I want your words to be true. And I want you to say what you need to say from the bottom of your heart. I think he will get to that point, but it's obviously not this chapter. So one thing I didn't even realize that gets brought up in this is that the fetus spirit was on Mount Yuzhen. The fetus spirit, I don't know if we've talked about this way back in volume 3. Did we talk about this back then? Have I just not put 2 and 2 together? The fetus spirit was the one singing the little nursery riddle, the little riddle to Xie Lian, and only he could hear it. The fudge. I was like, that did not dawn on me till just now, and I was like, oh my god. So yeah, and so Hua Cheng says it was probably Jun Wu that made it to where only you could hear the fetus spirit, and it's like, so potentially Bai Wusheng has been Jun Wu since the beginning of this story. So that's exciting. That's exciting. What? Why? And that's why Xie Lian's like, we have to find the Guoshi and ask him these questions. And of course, the Guoshi is being held in the palace of Lingwen. Of course he is. He's the most valuable person that we have to deal with. So of course we would put him in the palace of Lingwen. Why would we think otherwise? Right? Why would we think otherwise? So yeah, fun times. But yeah. So the Brocade Immortal wasn't anything good. So at this point, I like that they point out that Lingwen is both a civil god and a martial god when they're connected, which is a problem. The martial god part particularly. But it's not just the strength that they have together, because Hua Cheng's like, well, I could probably deal with them. But it's the fact that they don't want to be discovered by Jun Wu. So they're hoping and relying upon the fact that they can get Lingwen separated from Brocade Immortal. They're like, well, we could probably pounce on Lingwen and get her under wraps because she's a civil god, but we can't let the Brocade Immortal near her because then she's too powerful, and we have to get her instead of the Brocade Immortal because she's the one that could talk to Jun Wu directly, right? That's the problem. They figure out that if we remove the Brocade Immortal, it can't alert Jun Wu. We have to separate the two in order to overcome one and prevent from being found, right? So they also established that Lingwen has not been officially banished because she's been... And also that made a lot of sense too. I was like, oh my god, she hasn't been officially banished. So in that case, that means that they still have their power and they can still use it with the Brocade Immortal. So it's funny how that all adds up now that they've been working with Jun Wu / Bai Wusheng. That all adds up, right? So they determined that wearing the Brocade Immortal would be too bad for her health. So at some point she has to take it off. And they're like, we just need to find the moment she takes it off and then go from there. So they go to the side chambers and they're like, Gege, I like that Hua Cheng says, Gege, you have pretty good luck. And Hua Cheng's like, well, it's your luck that's pretty good. And he's like, should we go to the main hall, the side chamber? I'm like, it's so flirty. I'm like, quit flirting, you two. Are you kidding me? So they decide to go to the side chambers because they don't want to deal in the main hall and accidentally get caught, right? They're like, we could still have room to talk if we find the Brocade Immortal in the side chambers. And so they managed to get there. And there's a chest stacked full of black robes that they've got to try on and figure out which one is correct, which one is the one that's the Brocade Immortal. So have that whole situation again where they have to try them on. And I like the idea that as they're trying them on, Xie Lian's like, okay, what is Jun Wu doing? What's going on right now? Is like, are we in trouble? Is Jun Wu like onto us right now? Now, Hua Cheng says that it's fine we're okay because Jun Wu hasn't noticed you're gone. He's at the Great Martial Hall and has brought Mu Qing to interrogate, and it'll be a while by the looks of it. So that is good in a way because it means they have a lot of time. But here's my thing with Mu Qing. Here's my thing. We've had we've had 2 temptations so far. There is the temptation of Feng Xin to give up his followers, to go, is like, the temptation of Yin Yu is, would you take the powers of the person that admired you the most to take the glory back for yourself? And Yin Yu was able to overcome that temptation. For Feng Xin is, will you choose the glory of being a heavenly official over the love you have for your wife and child? And I think that Feng Xin's going to overcome temptation and go after Xianlong and the fetus spirit. I think there's that. 3rd time's a charm. I feel like the 3rd bout is going to be Mu Qing. If Yin Yu won't become Jun Wu's right-hand man, what about Mu Qing? Do we think that Jun Wu is going to try to interrogate and then assemble Mu Qing and get him to be by his side? My fear is that Mu Qing would say yes. My fear is that Mu Qing has nothing tying him. He doesn't have like a wife and kid. He doesn't have a lover in this story that's tying him to the potential side of the good. Mu Qing is kind of like Jun Wu himself, where he's a little bit isolated. And my fear is that Mu Qing is going to be like, sure, I don't have any reason not to join your side. Now, maybe Mu Qing is going to join his side and then betray him. I don't know. But I think that Mu Qing is going to take up Jun Wu's offer to be by his side after he's interrogated, and is going to become a problem. So that's fun. We'll see if that ends up happening, though, right? We'll see where that goes. But yeah, so they end up going to find the Brocade Immortal in the side chambers. They find the chest of all the different robes. And then they're like, well, we'll try these on and see what happens. And then, oh my God. So I like that at first Hua Cheng is like, no, let me put on the robes and you give me orders. And Xie Lian's like, we've tried that back before. Remember, it didn't do what you said. So maybe it's ineffective against Ghost Kings. Only I can do this. Now, it doesn't listen to what Xie Lian says. So is it because he's wearing the ring? Is it because he's wearing the ring that's possibly Hua Cheng's ashes? Is that it? Is it because Xie Lian has too much of the Ghost King's residual energy and spiritual powers on him? Are we hopefully going to find out next episode or next chapter set? I hope. I hope so. So yeah, that is the big question. Why won't the Brocade Immortal appear for Xie Lian and Hua Cheng? I just love that amidst all this chaos and amidst all of this madness that's going on, you have in this fleeting moment Xie Lian like trying on the robes, and Hua Cheng's like, okay, you need to borrow spiritual powers. And Xie Lian's like, and the thing about it is, all Xie Lian had to do was just do this, like slap his hand or something. Xie Lian is so, he knows what Hua Cheng was meaning, and he's just so like inclinated that borrowing spiritual powers is making out that it's like, what do we do? What do we do? And so then I love that Hua Cheng is like, well, it's not this one. What a shame. And he's like, tell me anything else. He's like, don't borrow spiritual powers from me. And like, it's like a Hua Cheng you. And I love Hua Cheng just like being like, oh, well, you mean it's not this one? And Xie Lian's like, come on. He's like, oh, well. I love the idea that he's like, are you sure? I don't know. You haven't proven it yet. Like, he just is sitting there, like, just tapping his fingers together, be like, well, Xie Lian, how are we going to know if you don't do it? Yes or no? Give me a kiss to prove you're not being controlled by the Brocade Immortal. These two Bakas. These two. Oh, my God. I love it. And he's like, wasn't I just staying true to your words? I love that Hua Cheng is like, he's so the flirtiest, like, just trying to get on Xie Lian so hard. And I love seeing Xie Lian just comes up and goes, chew. Like, he just kisses him, like, and Hua Cheng's like, I'll take it. And I love Xie Lian being like, San Long is getting harder to deal with. Is it just my imagination? Hua Cheng is trying to break Xie Lian out of his shell. And he's trying to be like, look, you've said you like me. It's mutual. Come on now. Let's do something, Xie Lian. And Xie Lian's like, I don't know what to do. It's great. It's wonderful. I love it so much. But yeah, so he was worried about Xie Lian and he's worried about Hua Cheng, and then Hua Cheng stopped teasing him and was being serious. But he tries on all the robes. nothing happens. And so he's like, why is this a problem? And then Hua Cheng is like, it seems Brocade Mortal is ineffective against me. It doesn't work on you either. So what's the problem? I don't know. I don't know if it's tied to the ring, or I don't know if it's the fact that none of them are the Brocade Immortal, and Lingwen didn't take off the Brocade Immortal, but just appeared like it. Maybe Lingwen still has the Brocade Immortal on. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's just like, But I am worried about Mu Qing. I'm worried that Mu Qing is being tempted by Jun Wu. Mu Qing's going to say yes because he wants power and wants status. And would Mu Qing go with the status quo? Like what? When Jun Wu was telling Yin Ying, be like, oh, just change your name, get your followers, and just, we'll start a new court. I have a feeling that Mu Qing would be up for that, possibly, for the status. I don't know. I mean, back then, Mu Qing seemed like he was pretty annoyed with Hua Cheng and Xie Lian, so I don't know. And then the idea of Feng Shen, I think Feng Shen's eventually going to choose Zhan Lan in the Fetus Spirit. I think he's going to. It's just going to be like, at what point and when. The ring, what does it mean? I don't know. We still have to find answers from the Guoshi. We still have got to get all that settled. What do we do with that? The Rainmaster, what's the Rainmaster? The Rainmaster is a great, like, little bomb there in the Heavenly Court, because the Rainmaster is just biding their time until things come out of the wash. Then what will happen? Also, I hadn't thought about this, but what if Hua Cheng was like, okay, how am I going to make a mess of the Heavenly Court and possibly take care of Jun Wu? Well, the Rainmaster can create all this rain, right? Well, what other spiritual entity do I know that would do well with rain? What about Heshan? Could Hua Cheng be like, Heshan, are you doing anything? No, you want to help me? I'll help you later. I'll be friendsies with you. I'll go halvesies with you on something. I don't know. And I'll take you to Red Lobster. What do you want? So, what if Hua Cheng got Heshan and the Rainmaster to work together? I don't know. I'm just posing up theories. I still want Qirong to just go amok in the Heavenly Court, but who knows if we'll get that. The big question is, like, what is Mei Nianqing going to tell us about Jun Wu, about all of this, about the whole process, about ghosts versus heavenly officials? Like, is there some secret out there we don't know of yet? I don't know. But these chapters were a nice little bit of levity. After all the insaneness, is becoming more and more apparent that Bai Wusheng is possibly the same as Jun Wu and has been for a very long time. But I don't know. I'm so curious. I'm so curious to see what we're going to get in the next set of chapters. Next week, we're looking at chapters 216 to 219, which is pages 187 to 230. It is like 43 pages, so it's a lot. I plan to do Manhwa chapter 101 with that, so it may be a lengthy discussion. Next week may be a bit of a discussion. We'll see, right? We'll just have to see. It's going to be 16, 17, 18. It's going to be 4 chapters. So we haven't done a 4-chapter thing in a while. And if we had Manhwa on top of that, oh my gosh. So I don't know, but this chapter set makes me like, I feel like I'm on the cusp of so many answers. And so many things are starting to add up. Like the Guoshi going after Xie Lian and the cursed spirit being at Mount Yuzhen and all this. But at this point, it's like, what's going to happen next? I don't know. So in the meantime, I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I hope you have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week, and we'll just see what happens with Heaven Official's blessing. Bye.